The Spontaneous Healing of Beliefs by Gregg Braden. The best way to hide something is to keep it in plain sight. When Spanish conquerors first arrived in the pristine wilderness of northern New Mexico, they weren't prepared for what they found. Rather than the primitive tribes and temporary homes that they expected, they found an advanced civilization already in place. There were roads, multi-story homes, passive solar heating and cooling, and a system of recycling that left virtually no waste from the entire population. The early Pueblo people practiced a powerful spirituality that allowed them to live in balance with the land for more than a millennium. All of that changed quickly, however, after the explorers came on the scene. We already had a religion, our guide explained, but it wasn't what the Spanish were looking for. It wasn't Christianity. Although our beliefs had many of the same ideas that you find in modern religions, the Spanish didn't understand. They forced us to accept what they believed. When I was in school, I was taught that regardless of what I may think, feel, or believe, the world around me is unaffected. No matter how powerfully I was flooded with love, fear, anger, or compassion, I was told that the world would never be directly impacted by my inner experiences because they weren't really real. Rather than Rather, they were just something mysteriously happening to me alone inside of my brain and were insignificant in the overall scheme of the universe. As noted previously, a new genre of scientific investigation has forever changed that view. The title of a 1998 study from the Weizmann Institute of Science in Rehovot, Israel, says it all. Quantum theory demonstrated. Observation affects reality. In terms that sound more like a philosopher's hypothesis than a scientific conclusion, the paper describes how we affect reality just by watching it. This powerful phenomenon has attracted the attention of innovators ranging from doctors and scientists to clergy and artists. Dangerous beliefs, the nocebo effect. Just as the beliefs that we've been given a healing agent can promote our body's life-affirming chemistry, the reverse can happen if we believe that we're in a life-threatening situation. This is called the nocebo effect. A number of landmark studies have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that this effect is just as powerful as, but running in the opposite direction of that of the placebo. According to Arthur Barsky, a psychiatrist at Boston's Brigham and Women's Hospital, it's the patient's expectation, the belief that a treatment either won't work for them or will have harmful side effects that plays what he calls a significant role in the outcome of the treatment. Even when patients are given a treatment that's proven useful in the past, if they believe it's of little or no value for them, that impression can have a powerfully negative effect. Belief is based on evidence. While our faith in something may have evidence as well, the key here is that it doesn't have to. To a person of faith, it's unnecessary. The existence of this field implies two things that directly affect the power of belief in our lives. While these principles may contradict many well-established tenets of science and spirituality, they also open the door to an empowering way of seeing our world and living our lives. One, the first principle suggests that because everything exists within the divine matrix, everything is connected. If things are connected, then what we do in one place must influence what is happening in other places. The influence may be huge or it may be small, depending on a number of factors that we address in this book. The key is that our inner experience in one place has the power to affect the world in another place. This power includes producing physical effects. Two, the second principle suggests that the divine matrix is holographic, meaning that any portion of the field contains everything in the field. This means that when we sit in our living room and believe in the healing of a loved one halfway around the world as if it already exists, the essence of our belief is already at its destination. In other words, the changes that we initiate within ourselves are already present everywhere as a blueprint in the matrix. So our job is less about getting our good wishes to where another person may be located and more about breathing life into the possibilities that we create as our beliefs. As the translator shared the abbot's reply, a powerful sensation rippled through my body, and I knew that this was the reason why we come to this place. You have never seen our prayers, he answered, because a prayer cannot be seen. Adjusting his heavy wool robes, the abbot continued, what you have seen is what we do to create the feeling in our bodies. Feeling is the prayer. The clarity of the abbot's answer set me reeling. His words echoed the ideas that had been recorded in ancient notice and Christian traditions more than 2,000 years ago. When we marry the thoughts in our minds with the power of the emotions that emanate from our lower energy centers, we create feelings. Thus, a feeling is the union of what we think with the fuel of our love or fear for our thought. And now we have a definition for feelings and a way to understand how they're different from emotions. The experience of affirmations is a perfect example of how the power of thought works. I've known people who use them every day of their lives, scribbled on sticky notes that were stuck to their bathroom windows, covered their car dashboards, and framing their computer screens at work. They would repeat the words hundreds and sometimes thousands of times every day, muttering such things as, my perfect mate is manifesting for me now, or I am abundant now and in all past and present and future manifestations. Occasionally, I'd ask them about their practice and if their affirmations really worked. Sometimes they did, and often they didn't. When my friends' affirmations seemed to fail, I asked them why. What did they believe was the reason for the failure? There was a common thread that connected each explanation. For each instant that the affirmation didn't appear to work, the person using them was doing little more than simply reciting the words. There was no emotion underlying them. We've got to fuel our affirmation with the power of our love as if it's already accomplished for the new condition to become real in our lives. And this, I believe, is the key to a successful affirmation and what sets one apart from a wish and an empty thought. It is now easy to think of feeling as belief as the programs of consciousness because we're the ones creating them. That makes us the programmers. We choose which thoughts become or begin commands and which emotion signals that we're ready to bring them to life. Through inner technology of belief, we're clearly the architects of our lives. It all begins with what happens in the mysterious realm that we call the mind, that place where our experiences converge into the lasting record of a moment in time. Our positive beliefs seldom become a problem. We just don't hear people complaining about too much joy or becoming overcome by too many good things happening in their lives. It's the negative patterns that lead to the problems, or perhaps more accurately, it's our perception of those patterns as negative that can become the root of life's greatest suffering. Almost universally, the experiences that cause people to feel stuck have roots in what are considered negative beliefs that we acquire early in life. And it's precisely because they're subconscious that it's often difficult for us to see them in ourselves. For this very reason, I often invite seminar participants to complete a pre-printed form asking them to identify characteristics of their childhood caregivers, especially the traits that they would consider negative. The purpose of the chart is to identify the subconscious impressions and beliefs that we formed of these characteristics while we were children, rather than the way we see them with the benefit of adult experience today. I touched on this briefly in the Divine Matrix, but here I'll actually invite you to do this exercise yourself. If you'd like to gain insight into your subconscious beliefs that may be playing out in your life today, complete the information in figures 9 to 11 on a separate piece of paper or in a journal following the instructions noted in the captions. On the top section, list the positive characteristics for both male and female caretakers. This can be anyone from birth and foster parents to older brothers, sisters, other relatives, or family friends. Regardless of who the people are, the question relates to those who cared for you in your formative years until about age 15 or so. On the bottom section, A, list the negative characteristics for the same caregivers. Note, remember to base your list on the way you would have seen them with the innocence of a child. Helpful hint, use single words, concise adjectives, or short phrases. Step C, what did you want and need most from your caregivers? In single words or brief phrases list the things that were most important for you to receive from your childhood caregivers. This time, when you answer the question, do so from the perspective of where you are in your life today as an adult. Once again, use single words or brief phrases. D, list your frustrations. And 2, how did you address your frustrations? Describe your childhood frustrations and what you did to deal with them. As in the preceding steps, to the degree that you can, respond with single words or short phrases, as it will be easy to work with the answers. The last part of this exercise in discovering your subconscious beliefs is to complete the single form that follows using the single words or short phrases drawn from the charts in figures 9, 10, and 11. As you're doing so, please bear in mind that there are no absolutes. Rarely are patterns so clearly defined in life that you can say this is absolutely so, or that this is definitely what has happened. What you're looking for here are themes and subconscious patterns that may be playing out in your life today. To find out for yourself, complete the following statements on a separate paper or in a journal. The prime rule of reality is that we must become in our lives what we choose to experience in the world. The studies concluding observation affects reality demonstrate 2 keys in translating the possibilities of our minds into reality of our world. 1, beyond any doubt, reality changes in the presence of our focus. 2, the more we focus, the greater the change. These scientific observations confirm the principles that the great teachers of our past have shared in non-scientific language. And this is why Neville Goddard's admonition that we must enter the image of our heart's desire, our dream, our goal, or our answered prayer, and think from it is so powerful. When we place our focus on what our lives would be like if our dreams were already fulfilled, what we're actually doing is creating the conditions within us that allow our fulfilled dream to surround us. Let's take a look at Neville's work now. Perhaps the best way to illustrate such a beautiful and profound truth is through an example. While the 20th century philosopher known in his lifetime only as Neville shared many case histories that describe the miracle of living from an outcome, for me, the following has been one of the most potent because of its simplicity, clarity, and innocence. The story begins with Neville explaining the power of imagination and belief to a businesswoman who has come to see him for advice in New York. After he describes the philosophy of living from the answer and shares the instructions for how to do so, Neville's principles are validated in a way that even he wasn't expecting. The woman's 9-year-old grandson was visiting her from out of state and had been with her during her meeting. As they were leaving, the young bard turned to Neville and stated excitedly he was going to get his puppy. And he did. Building upon the computer analogies that we've used in previous chapters, replacing an existing belief in the conscious mind with a new, upgraded, and improved one may be thought of in the same way we've thought of as a software patch. The patch is built independently of the original software and inserted at a later time to upgrade the program and heal it from unwanted responses. History has shown that both logic and miracles can become the superhighway to the deeply held beliefs that our minds have accepted in the past. Let's take a closer look at the logic path and the logic patch and the miracle patch to see what they are and how to create them. Logic patch. We can convince our conscious minds of a new belief through the power of logic. Once the mind sees a reason to think differently about the world, it will allow the heart to embrace that possibility as a new belief, that is, to feel that it is true. Miracle patch. We can bypass the logic of our minds altogether and go directly to our hearts. In this way, we don't even need to think about what we believe. We're forced to embrace a new belief in the presence of an experience that's beyond rational explanations. This is the definition of a miracle. When we talk about changing a belief consciously, one of the most powerful things we can do is become aware of it and how it plays out as the subconscious habits of our daily routines. To embark upon such a path is to hold the focus of conscious intent for everything we do in every moment of life. In the Buddhist traditions, this practice of mindfulness was recommended by Buddha for all who seek to grow spiritually and eventually achieve enlightenment. Building your personal logic patch. Following is a template that you can use to build the logic patch for yourself. What sets this process apart from an affirmation is that here you're stating your own facts based on your personal experiences, which lead you to a logical and arguable conclusion. Just as in the earlier examples, the key is to be clear, honest, and concise so that the patch will make sense to your mind. Key 1, state how you feel regarding your desired outcome as if it has already happened. For your own clarity, it's important to do this in one concise, brief sentence. For example, I feel deeply fulfilled by the success of my new business, teaching sustainable living. So put in your business. I feel blank. Key 2, state which passion you are choosing to express. Example, I have a passion to create and to share what I've created. Example 2, I have a passion to help others. So fill it in. I have a passion to blank. Key 3, state the limiting belief that you have about yourself and or filling your need. Example, my limiting belief is that my work is not worth the time it takes to create. Or example, my limiting belief is that my work is insignificant. Or example, my limiting belief is that my family demands don't allow me to fulfill this need. So fill in your own limiting belief. My limiting belief is that blank. Key 4, state the opposite of your limiting belief. Example, my work makes a meaningful contribution to my life and the world. Example, my work is valuable. Example, my family wants me to be happy and supports me in my choices. Now you do it. My blank. Key 5, state when you feel most fulfilled in your life. This will become your goal. Example, I feel most fulfilled in my life when I think about writing a new book about sustainable living. Example, I feel most fulfilled in life when I'm creating workshops to teach green living. Okay, now fill in the blank. I feel most fulfilled in life when blank. Key 6, state the inarguably facts that support your goal. Example, it is a fact that there's a demand for new books teaching sustainable living. Example, it's a fact that I've already practiced a green lifestyle for 25 years. Example, it's a fact that I'm already teaching other people about this informally. Example, it's a fact that new technology makes it possible to be more efficient. Example, it's a fact that I express myself well in writing, and I've already written brief articles on this topic. So now you do it. It is a fact that blank. While Roger Bannister may not have sat down and gone through the formalities that I'm describing here, we know that he did use a step-by-step process of logic to prove to himself that his goal could be accomplished and that he was the person to do it. And this is the key to a logic patch. It needs to make sense to you and only you by proving to you that your goals, dreams, and desires are valuable and achievable. With these things in mind and using the information from the questions above, complete the following chart to create your personal logic patch, because you can include as many statements as you choose for keys 4, 5, and 6. Your personal logic patch can contain an unlimited number of and statements. Logic statement, if, use key number 2, and use key number 4, and use key number 6, then it makes sense that for, key number 4. And I have all that I need to bring my dream to life. In the first 6 chapters, these ideas were developed in a precise sequence. They have an order, and there's a reason for it. Everyone is offered within the context of the ideas that preceded while paving the way for those that follow. Similar to the divine matrix's keys, I invite you to consider the following sequence of belief codes one at a time, allow each its own merit as a powerful agent of change. In his book, The Prophet, Khalil Gibran reminds us, work is love made visible. From this perspective, it's through your actions that you show you're caring for life itself. So I invite you to work with your belief codes. Allow them to become your love made visible. Read each one and ponder it, discuss it, share it, and live with it until it makes sense to you. Together, these steps can become your consciousness program for changing yourself and your world. Belief code 1. Experiments show that the focus of our attention changes reality itself and suggests that we live in an interactive universe. Belief code 2. We live our lives based on what we believe about our world, ourselves, our capabilities, and our limits. Belief code 3, science is a language, one of many that describe us, the universe, our bodies, and how things work. Belief code 4, if the particles that we're made of can be in instantaneous communication with one another, be in 2 places at once, and even change the past through choices made in the present, then we can as well. Belief code 5, our beliefs have the power to change the flow of events in the universe, literally to interrupt and redirect time, matter, and space and the events that occur within them. Belief code 6, just as we can run a simulated program that looks and feels real, studies suggest that the universe itself may be the output of a huge and ancient simulation, a computer program that began long ago? If so, then to know the program's code is to know the rules of reality itself. Belief code 7. When we think of the universe as a program, atoms represent bits of information that work just the way familiar computer bits do. They're either on as physical matter or off as invisible waves. Belief code 6. Nature uses a few simple, self-similar, and repeating patterns, fractals, to build atoms into the familiar patterns of everything from elements and molecules to rocks, trees, and us. Belief code 9. If the universe is made of repeating patterns, then to understand something on a small scale provides a powerful window into similar forms on a grand scale. Belief code 10. Belief is the program that creates patterns in reality. Belief code 11. What we believe to be true in life may be more powerful than what others accept as truth. Belief code 12. We must accept the power of belief to tap it in our lives. Belief code 13. Belief is defining as the certainty that comes from accepting what we think is true in our minds, coupled with what we feel is true in our hearts. Belief code 14. Belief is expressed in the heart, where our experiences are translated into the electrical and magnetic waves that interact with the physical world. Belief code 15. Beliefs and the feelings we have about them are the language that speaks to the quantum stuff that makes a reality. Belief code 16. The subconscious mind is larger and faster than the conscious mind and can account for as much as 90% of our activity each day. Belief code 17. Many of our most deeply held beliefs are subconscious and begin when our brain state allows us to absorb the ideas of others before the age of 7. Belief code 18. In our greatest challenges of life, we often find that our deeply held beliefs are exposed and available for healing. Belief code 19. Our beliefs about unresolved hurt can create physical effects with the power to change, the power to damage, or even kill us. Belief code 20. When our soul hurts, our pain is transmitted into the body as the spiritual quality of the life force that we feed into each cell. Belief code 21, the same principles that allow us to hurt ourselves into death also work in reverse, allowing us to heal ourselves into life. Belief code 22, our belief in one force for everything that happens in the world, or two opposite and opposing forces, good and evil, plays out in our experience of life, health, relationships, and abundance. Belief code 23, to heal the ancient battle between darkness and light, we must find that it's less about defeating one or the other and more about choosing our relationship to both. Belief code 24, a miracle that's possible for anyone is possible for everyone. Belief code 25, in a participatory reality, we are creating our experience as well as experiencing what we have created. Belief code 26, in 1998, scientists confirmed that photons are influenced just by being watched and discovered that the more intense the watching, the greater the watcher's influence on how the particles behave. Belief code 27, the prime rule of reality is that we must become in our lives what we choose to experience in the world. Belief code 28, we tend to experience in life what we identify with in our beliefs. Belief code 29, for different reasons that reflect the variations in the way we learn, both logic and miracles give us a way into the deepest recesses of our beliefs. Belief code 30, to change our beliefs through the logic of our minds, we must convince ourselves of a new possibility through inarguable facts that lead to an inescapable conclusion. Belief code 31, the power of a miracle is that we don't have to understand why it works. We must, however, be willing to accept what it brings to our lives.